because like a lot of people won't know you, they won't know what you do or anything like that. They would have come on and they would have been like, what the fuck? This is an interesting conversation, but what the fuck is going on here? So explain a little bit to everyone watching exactly what the consultancy does, and how that can help people to see the bigger chessboard as well.
Jeez, you're putting me on the spot here. So the consultancy, it's called the Callback Coach. And basically my role is, people need jobs. People will always need jobs, especially into the next couple of years. And my role is to get you the best job you can actually get, and set you up for the future to get to whatever goal you have, whether that's being to leave the 9-to-5, to leave the workplace, to run your own company and have that mindset from a career or corporate world point of view. So my consultancy or service is all across the career hiring spectrum, from CVs to interview prep to even salary negotiations and even exits from those companies. It was something that I probably should have done a lot earlier, frankly.
Better late than never.
Exactly, better late than never. It was always something I did, I guess, to wax lyrical. I never understood why people struggled to get jobs. I just didn't get it. I never understood why people would be applying to thousands of jobs and never get a response. I never understand why people were so terrified of interviews.
Yeah.
And, these things start. Go on.
Oh, I was going to say, what do you think is like from your experience, what's been like the most common reason why someone is terrified of interviews? Because I'm like you. I've had, I don't know, hundreds, and I've always smashed it. I think the only interview that I've ever failed was I went to one on the day that my granddad died, and I found out in the morning, and then I had to go straight into the middle of London. You know what that's like? Just fucking hell. And I got there, my brain was all fucked. I got all of these sweaty people around me on the train. I got someone eating fucking Doritos just in my ears. And of course, and my granddad died. So I wasn't I wasn't in the I wasn't there. But what do you think is like the most common reason? Because that's a really interesting line to go down.
So I think if we take it outside of interviews and to the entire hiring process in general, is applicants forget that they are filling a need for a person. And whenever they're answering questions, whether that's, if you look at your CV as your checklist for the company that's looking at you, you need to tell them why they should look at you and why they should speak to you. Because if you're not telling me what value you're going to bring my company, and you're not doing that very explicitly, and I'm not interested. And so when people are going into interviews, why are they so terrified of it? It's because they don't have that. Well, first of all, it's the fear of the unknown, and it's pressure because people don't often like talking about themselves. They aren't in sales, and they don't understand that an interview is a sales process. And there's just that, I don't know, programming that interviews are meant to be hard, and it's always one-sided, when in reality an interview is both, it's a two-way street. You interview the company as well. And so go on. A
lot of people forget about that aspect is and I see this so often, especially now on so many different fronts. I mean, you look at it with and you see this kind of thing with young men and women, young men and friends, young men are finding jobs. It's all the same thing, right? It's you're qualifying them just at the same time as they are qualifying you, right? So it's a mutual exchange of, or it's a mutual process of qualification, right?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I think a lot of people fall down, to borrow words from other industries, it's abundance mentality, where if they are so scared of, or their situation means that they only have that one opportunity, then they're then mess it up, frankly. And if you've got the ability or the balls to say what you actually think in an interview and interview or ask the questions to the interviewer and have that conversation rather than having it as an interview, that's my kind of the way I work, is turn those interviews into conversations.
Exactly.
Understand what, I've interviewed people, I've been in interviews probably about the same amount now. And whenever some candidate comes to speak to me and I feel like I've known them and I'm just having a chat, like you and me are having right now, it's like, there's no pressure, is there?
Yeah, exactly. It's just, so like, it's the conversation. It's really interesting because I see this, I mean, I think it was yesterday, in fact, I was telling my students just this, because it's the fear of social interaction it's so fucking gay, because at the end of the day, every single interaction that you're having with anyone, it should be, number one, it should be fun. Number two, you should walk away getting or knowing more about that person. You can think of it and consider the other side of that the other person should know more about you as well. But I mean, for me, with conversations, the way that I look at it is I want to know more about them more than they find out about me, because I want them to be doing the talking rather than me, right?
Yeah. An analogy I use when I'm prepping for people is, think of it as you playing poker. If I was to ask you, what are you holding, would you tell me?
Yeah.
So an interview is pretty much a conversation version of poker, where I'm trying to find out what's in your hand and then trying to find out what's in my hand.
That's a really, really good fucking analogy, actually. And it makes perfect sense, because the other thing is, when they put a card down on the table, you don't quite know what that card's going to be, right? You don't know what that interview question is going to be exactly, because I think a lot of people also do this, do the prep.
Yeah.
They do the prep in by understanding the exact moves, right? By understanding exactly what to say for X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
Rather than, and this was funny as well, I came up with this analogy. I think you can take this one if
I might steal it. You're pretty good at them. Go on.
They're okay, bro. They're all right. I'll give them like a 4 out of
5.
But it's like trying to teach someone how to play chess. So you can teach someone the exact moves to make, right? But the opponent, even if the opponent does X, Y, and Z, that doesn't necessarily mean that the final move. So let's say that you have like a 25-step plan to win. And you're making the perfect moves. They're allowing themselves to get set up time and time again. They're moving the pawns at E4, whatever. And your moves are perfect. And then all of a sudden, right at the last second, they come out and your whole plan is fucked, because they've just protected, I don't know, their queen with a bishop, and now your whole plan's fucked, and you're checkmate in 2 moves. Rather than being a chess grandmaster and learning the game itself, rather than just the moves and that immediate response. If this, then this. Because it's much more of a fluid thing, I think, especially with interviews. It's much more fluid, because they can ask you fucking anything.
Well, they do. I mean, I've asked some pretty horrific questions as well, because...
What's been the most horrific one?
The one that... So, I'll give you the one that threw me the most.
Okay.
Because there were multiple correct answers, but in fact, all the answers were wrong, if that makes sense. And it was... Okay. So generally, you have interview questions. The hardest question everybody has is, tell me about yourself. Everybody knows that question is going to be asked, and they're going to ask you, tell me about your strengths and weaknesses. But I had this guy, and I firmly believe the harder the interview question is, the more successful you're being in the interview.
Yeah.
Because if I've got to ask you some douchebag questions, because I'm like, well, I know you know how to answer everything. I'm going to test you a bit, right?
Yeah.
And I got asked, it was given a scenario where the interviewer asked and told me, you've been shrunk down to the size of a beetle. Now, this is apparently quite a famous one, but I didn't know it when I was 22. You've been shrunk down to the size of a beetle and put inside of a blender. The blender turns on in 10 seconds. How do you survive? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I mean, I'm expecting, technical questions, personality questions, not what the hell, before
now
that,
I'm a fucking beetle. What?
Yeah, like to the size of a beetle. So, and I thought about it, and I asked him after the interview, what was the correct answer? He's like, there wasn't one. I just wanted to see what your mentality was, because, so my answer at the time was to jump out. It was like, if I've been, because I took him so literally, he's not telling me that I am a beetle. He's been telling me that I've been shrunk to the size of a beetle, which from a scientific point of view means I'm that many times stronger.
Yeah.
Which means I can just jump straight out. It's not exactly a big blender, is it? It's like, I'll just jump out.
Yeah.
But he had heard answers where people would accept their fate and die.
I was about to ask
he'd heard people saying, well, literally, it's their mentality, right? It's like he told me that, he'd heard people say they're just going to lie down under the blades and hope to survive. He'd heard the jumping out one before. I was like, shit. Fair enough. And one of the most interesting one was jump in the middle and hold on, because the forces will just keep you there. You're not going to die. But that was like, I've used that question a few times just to fuck with people, because that's what interview is.
It's good though, because this, I think for a lot of the people, because I've had so many fucking interviews myself, but I've also done so many. I've been on the other end of the stick, right? And I don't think people really understand the actual concept of having an interview. It's more to see, okay, if this person is, if I'm going to pay this person, are they actually going to be fixing problems? Are they even capable of fixing problems? Or are they just going to fucking lay down and accept their fate? Mm-hmm. So I think that's such a good question. It's such a good question. And what was another one for you? What was like a really like difficult one where there was a right answer?
So the difficult questions are the ones without the easy correct answer. Some people find the question, why do you want this job, difficult. Some people find the question of tell me about your weaknesses, because a lot of people don't want to admit that they have weaknesses, which is fine, I get it, but you need to tell me you have a weakness, and how you're going to address it is how you answer that interview question correctly, right? So one of the other ones that I struggled with at the time, I'm going back a bit now, I'm sure that somebody's going to send me a question now saying, what about how would you answer this question? I'm like, fucking hell, I've never heard that one before. But it's the spirit animal question. I've got another one in my mind as well, but it's like, tell me, if somebody says, what's your spirit animal?
Yeah.
Realistically, does it matter?
Yeah. For me, I've never heard that one, but I had a friend who asked me, and he goes, hey bro, it's like a 250k job that he was going to get, massive salaries, bonuses, everything. It was full, what's it? Anyway, I can't remember. It's for a corporate company. They're like, what's your spirit animal?
People get weird.
And he was blindsided by it. He's like, I don't have one. And just went,
why would you? I don't know. I'm a bloke. I don't think about that.
Yeah, I'm a dude. It's like, ask me what my fucking horoscope sign is. I'll give you the same answer. I don't fucking know.
But
how's that going to help
is.
me to make you more money, bro? Like, what? It's just because a lot of people as well, they don't seem to understand that interviews are essentially everything, right? And interviews very much tie into sales and business and life in general. But it's everything, because everyone's always interviewing you all of the time, right? It's you're going on a date. That's an interview.
Okay.
You've met a group of friends of your girlfriend, or you've met
Oh,
now
that's the
her
hardest interview.
parents. Yeah, or her parents, or that's the worst one. The parents is the worst one. It's fun though.
There's a commonality between all of them, right?
Yeah.
You've got to understand, and you can go back to sales. You've got to understand what that group or person or individual really wants and what they really need. You know, not to derail the topic, but a lot of times when people are writing CVs, they do it so matter of factly that they're just telling me that they did their job.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, yes, I'd hope you fucking did your job. What was your job and what value did it bring to the company? Same thing, like, you know, if you're meeting, I was reading some of the other posts in the some of the other channels, this the conversation with the dad. It's like, no, you're never going to tell. I think the example was the dad as a priest. I'm not sure if you remember what.
That was exactly the one that I was just thinking
And
about.
I'm thinking like, bro, what's wrong with you? You're going to tell.
Let's touch on this. Let's touch on this because we know about it, but we can touch on this. So this is in one of our friends' groups, and basically he comes to us. He has this issue, right? And he's dating this girl. The girl's father's a priest.
I think it was a priest, wasn't it?
Yeah. He was like a super Catholic priest. And what was the rest? I can't. It was like
it was something. I think he was Serbian or Moldovan. You know, like super, you know, Catholic. And he was basically, the guy was telling the father that he enjoys his daughter.
Yeah.
I think that was it. I didn't respond.
I can't remember, but it was just, you have to reverse engineer what is that person looking for, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Right. Is a father really looking for someone to come in to his house and start barking orders? No, of course not. If is a corporate
the VP
manager,
or whatever,
looking for you to come in and potentially take over their job? Of course they're not, right? And it's playing the game, but first you need to understand the opponent, right? You need to think about it. And it's such a basic thing, but too many people, they rush in just because they're like, oh, there's an opportunity here. Like, I have an opportunity to get this job, so let me just keep on talking, rather than saying, okay, let me just hold on. There is an opportunity here. I know that, you know, this could work out. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Who gives a fuck? Maybe it does.
That's what you should be thinking. That's exactly the mentality you should have. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, who gives a fuck? Well, so what? Am I ever going to fucking see these people again if they say no? No. It's the same with the chick that people are dating. That chick, you're never going to fucking see her again. Why do you give a shit?
And if you did, would you want to talk to her again? No. You know? But
exactly.
No, to touch on your point, it's very much stop thinking, oh, I've got an opportunity to get the job. Think of it as an opportunity that they are going to get me.
That's it. You're the prize. You're the solution.
You've got to analyze whether the job is
exactly.
You've got to analyze as well, and this is where it comes back to it's a conversation, not just a one-way question answer. You've got to figure out if that job's the right thing for you. I mean, I'll give you an example. Before I quit to do this full time, I was working in. So I did some background in engineering, corporate engineering, essentially, and program strategy management, and I didn't tell our friends because I knew I'd get shafted.
Oh, this is going to be great. I get to ruin you live.
So there's a company, and I'm not going to name the company, but they had, in the industry that I was in, they were very well known for being very innovative. They were very forward thinking. Now, in my naivety, I thought that's great. Nowadays, forward thinking is associated to being too woke.
Yeah.
And I remember going to this interview, and I remember telling a couple of my friends in recruitment, who, by the way, had exactly the same reaction you're going to have, that I interviewed with this company, and it's a femtech company. Because I'm like, fuck it, it's money, right? You know, it's like if I walk into that building.
You sold your soul, firstly. So you sold your soul to the LGBTF.
Well, to be clear, I didn't. I quit. I didn't quit. I just said no, thank you, because I remember it's so well, basically you walk through the halls of this company and it's predominantly women, and the blokes that are there are
predominantly female as well.
Yeah, effeminized. And I'm sitting there talking to this dude who's the head of engineering, and I'm like, dude, I could eat you alive right now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, I'm not a big dude. Okay, I'm not a tall dude, but I'm a big dude. I'm like,
I just want to fucking punch you in the eye. Like, I could
literally, I was like, how are you the head of engineering? Like, you just do what you're told. You have no decision power. I remember sitting there in this interview. Here's a hard question I still can't answer. They were like, do I believe in equality? And I'm sitting there like, shit, I've got to bite my tongue here.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, what's the correct answer? Yes, but why are you asking me this? Because you clearly had that problem in the past. Anyway, that's an opportunity where I removed myself from the equation, because I was like, there's no way in hell I'm going to work here.
Yeah.
I remember telling my friends in recruitment, they all just burst out laughing, like, you working for a woke company? Fuck off.
Yeah, no, it's just that, no. But it's like, I mean, even with that, it's like if you're in that kind of a position and you realize in the interview that this isn't going to work out, don't fucking waste any more of your time. I've done this a fair few times. I've just said, well, okay, look, this for what it is that you guys are asking me for the salary.
I knew you were going to bring up salary. I've got so many stories about this. God.
Oh, go on. I've just said, I appreciate the time. Thank you for the offer. No. But we want you to. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Well, maybe I'll do it for another 10, 15 grand a month.
Yeah.
Or a year at this time.
Well, 15 grand.
How things change inside of 10 years. And maybe I'll do it for another 10, 15 grand a year. But no, it's just it's too much. It's too much. You guys aren't really approaching this as a negotiation. So I don't think that this is a fair deal. Yeah. So I wish you guys well. And then the very next day, surely enough, they'd send me an email. Say, look, we really want you in because clearly you've got some other offers and blah, blah, blah. So I tell you what, we'll match that 15K or whatever. And then I'd always go back the next day and I'd always say, well, look, I've just had another interview from a company which actually is closer to home and has more bonuses. So then I'd get the extra salary and I'd get the bonuses as well. Exactly. Even though I didn't even have another interview.
But that's the thing, right? Information is power.
Yeah.
And they don't know what you've got. And you don't, well, you can figure out what they've got, because if a job has been on advertised for 8 months, you know they've got fuck all.
Yeah.
You know, and so you can lean on the fact that, and this is whether you're in a job or not, you can lean on the fact that you have opportunities, and that's that abundance mindset. Yeah. So to go on that salary negotiation stuff, I hope most people know that the best way of getting a raise is to leave. Like the external ladder in corporate world is far faster than the internal elevator, because there's no such thing. You'll get the 3% COLA tax, if that. But yeah, just don't waste your time. If you know it's not working for you, whether the interviewer or your boss, you just know it's not going to work, leave. Don't waste their time. Don't waste your time, because you've got other shit to do. And that salary question, I think I tried to do it tactfully the first time, because there's always the HR lady who asks you, what's your current salary? I'm like, why the hell would I tell you that?
Yeah.
Like, in what world would I say this? Oh, we need it for our records. I'm like, okay, why don't we discuss remuneration at a better time, or when we're further down the process, when we both know that we're a good fit for each other? And I think the worst time, it was when I'd already decided, fuck this, I'm leaving. I looked at this, I think it was head of people, whatever that means.
Head of people. It's like, what are you, a hydra? Like someone cuts you off, and then what? Just another you just grows.
Well, have you not realized that they all look the same in HR?
They do. They do. They all have not just like bright red hair, but it's dark red hair, right?
It's like ruby red, and it's always the same fucking haircut, and always the same shitty jumper.
It's super pale. Not fat, but they're pear-shaped, right? They're pear-shaped people. And they always walk around with their little fucking clipboard.
In my industry, it's like those moleskin notebooks. Now, I have some of those notebooks because I like to write things down in an interview. But they're like holding it as if that's their shield.
If they lose that notebook, that's it. But all hell breaks loose.
To finish that story, it was. I asked her. I straight up told her, like, am I blonde? Do I have big tits? And she's like, no. I'm like, then why are you trying to fuck me?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not going to tell you how much I'm earning. You're going to tell me what you're willing to pay, and I'll evaluate my candidacy for you.
Yeah.
Because frankly, I'm not doing my last job. Fuck off.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's also really stupid. Like, I see a lot of the guys that have come to me asking me for interview help, like, and they're the interviewer.
You send them to me, bro.
I will from now on. I'm too fucking busy. You can take it. Just give me the comms.
Yeah,
but
that's it. That's real.
Yeah, 90% on commissions. That's fair enough. But it's like
standard rate is at 25.
Yes, standard MJ rates, bro. Standard MJ rates. Take everything. There we are. But it's funny because even the interviews, they don't fucking know what the fuck they're doing. They're so clueless. So why are you asking a question that, number one, is going to give you either trash intel on me, or intel that just doesn't benefit you, or that just is not going to push this further for you guys to make any decisions? Like, what difference does it make how much I'm making right now? I see why they're asking that, but the logic behind that is just, it's terrible business. It's terrible business. If you want to see if someone's good or not, it's like, I see so often, I don't know if this is still the case. I've been well outside of online hiring. I just hire through networks now. But, 100%. But from now, because when I was looking for jobs and stuff fucking a decade ago, there were so many jobs that just didn't post the salary. And it's just the dumbest thing.
Well, but you got to realize the entire equation is they want to get you for as little money as possible.
Exactly.
But that is my number one goal as a hiring guy. It's like, oh, he's capable. Because I know we touched about on this, and I don't want to contradict myself, but most of the time, if you're in a room with me, I think you can do the job.
Yeah.
From a technical and hard skill point of view, I've looked at your CV, which, by the way, is hard enough because, dear God, people's CVs are so bad these days. For the record, if you type into Google and type CV template, and you take that template, which has a picture of your face and a brightly colored bar down the left-hand side, shoot yourself. It's the worst thing in the world. It just tells me you don't know how to write a CV.
It's the one, bro, I saw it when I was, what's the word?
Shortlisting,
yeah. When I was shortlisting candidates, anyone who had a picture,
don't do it. Like, I mean, I worked with a few
unless it was a hot chick. Actually, I did. I'll be honest. I did do that a couple of times. That was when I was looking for a new secretary. Yeah.
Go on their LinkedIn, and if you see, you and me have very opposite ideas when it comes to secretaries. Like, I want my secretary to basically do my job for me.
Yeah.
So I hire somebody who's basically like the queen bee but retired. So I remember once the best job I ever had was because the guy who ran that company was he'd be welcoming our group like in open arms.
Yeah.
And he told me, hey, I need you to hire a secretary. Now I'm 22. I'm sitting there like, what the hell do I need a secretary for? He's like, oh, she'll make you coffee. And, the only reason he wanted it is because he wanted a hot bird walking around the office. And he got so annoyed at me when I hired Gretchen or something like that from Suits.
Fuck's sake, guys.
Like, come on, bro. I could literally take a nap in my office. And Gretchen knew how to write those emails as if it was me. I know.
Why would you nap when you could be working with a hot chick just there?
Because you don't bang people at work. Everybody knows that. You don't dip your finger in the company ink. I have done this. You have seen my posts about it.
All right, it's true. It is. It's the dumbest fucking thing, though. It really is. Like for the past, where are we now? Close to 23. So maybe for the past like 3 years, the secretaries. I only want young guys now. That sounds super weird, but I'll explain why. Because they want to take as much shit off of your hands as they possibly humanly can. They want to take as much of it, and on every single front, whether it's sales, marketing, and they come at it with so much more energy, right? So much more energy, and I find it way more creative now to work with a younger guy who's super on the fucking ball. They have to be super on the ball,
and they need to do the shit,
yeah. And like that, like the type of guys that want to work fucking 24, 48 hours, just pretty much straight. Like as soon as and you get that, right? You can tell straight away. You're like, oh, this fucking dude's on it. Like this guy's about it. Those are the types of people that I want to work with. Anyone else now? I just fuck it, dude. Fuck it. It's exactly what I mean. It's the speed. It's the speed and the velocity. That's the thing that for me matters the most now, right? It's not. Eye candy's still good. Don't get me wrong. Like it's still good. Yeah. But now I'm focused more on the money than anything else, because
exactly.
It's easier enough. But too many people as well, because this will be an interesting conversation, I think. Too many guys, especially in the workplace, try to get their girlfriend in the workplace. Why do you think that is? And why is it a fucking terrible idea on so many fronts?
I mean,
why is it a
terrible idea point of view? Okay, I'm gonna put this out there. I have been that guy.
I think everyone has.
Yeah. I think the reason that most people, so you could look at it really basically, is most people have a job, right? They may not have hobbies outside of that job. They just go home, play video games, jerk off, and go to bed. So where else are they going to meet women? So naturally you're spending about, almost 35 hours a week. That's what most people spend at work now, 35 to 40 hours a week. That's where you're getting the most social interaction, because you're a loser. Yeah. And who else are you going to... You're going to be surrounded by some fit women, sure. You're going to try and bag one of them, because that's your entire pool. You've got nothing else going on in your life. So that's probably... I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not an expert when it comes to this, but that's where I'd say they end up doing that, because that's the only options they have. Yeah. Why it's a bad idea, I can tell you thousands of reasons why it's a bad idea. just a public service announcement. Don't do it. No matter how good she is. And there'll be it's always. Okay, again, real world example. I joined a company a couple of years ago as one of the youngest partners, and I was 27, I think it was, so it was like unheard of. To the point where I'd walk into a meeting and everybody was like, "Where's your boss?" I'm like, "No, that's me. I'm the guy who's the head of this." And like, "Oh fuck!" But I started dating a girl from work. Whoopsie daisy. And they're always junior to you, and the attraction to you is because you're so senior, and oh my god, you're my boss's boss's boss, or whatever, or you can boss my boss around. So fuck, I want to be with you.
Yeah,
just don't fucking do it. It is a nightmare.
It's a minefield, and even worse than that, it's like all that you need is one thing to go wrong in that kind of a scenario. Boom, you're in jail, you've lost your job.
Right, exactly.
It's the work, especially in today's dynamic. It's like the gym. I
know you're going to talk about the gym story now,
and I always will fucking say the gym is to train. Yep. Work is to fucking work. You're going there for a purpose. Focus on that purpose. And then everyone's like, yeah, but isn't it better to get two birds with one stone? No, it's fucking not, bro. It's not. It's like, I call it magpie syndrome, right?
Okay.
So it's just like guys that they can't focus on one singular thing.
Because they're being taught that they need to multitask.
Well, they're like, oh, look, this thing's shiny over here. That now needs my attention. Oh, there's a hot chick over here. Let me get that. That needs my attention. It's just like, yo, you're broke as a motherfucker. This is the only job that you have access to right now, this very second.
Yep.
And we're getting into a depression.
Recession, yeah.
Don't fuck around. It's like the fuck around, find out job, right?
Yeah, well, it's... look, I get it, and I can sympathize, because sometimes what is the term, work wife?
Yeah.
It happens. It really does. But, like most marriages, just don't have sex with your work wife. Just don't do it. You'll click with somebody, and unless you're talking about, oh, I've got a job in McDonald's.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah, it's and even then, don't do it. If you're in McDonald's, then bro, you have way bigger problems
you need to
right
get
now.
Your money in order. You get your house in order
before you
invite people in. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's thousands of things that can go wrong. She could. There's always, generally that's the case. She'll leave you for basically the same reason she got with you. She's got with somebody who's a better prospect in their eyes. Your boss, for example. That didn't happen. My boss was a true lad, but
yeah. Okay, it didn't happen, bro. Yeah.
Well, not with him. He was married. I know his wife. I set him and his wife up now. He couldn't stand her. But she'll leave, and your work ethic will drop, because every time you see her, you'll get depressed. Every time somebody mentions her name, you'll be like, fuck that. And you're not focused on work, and therefore it has a ripple effect throughout everything, whereby you lose your job or whatever. Now, I didn't lose my job, thankfully, but it was like, why would you invite that level of pain in your life for no reason? Go out, get a hobby. Don't try and pick up girls from the gym, because just don't.
Yeah, gym is just like work, and it all goes full circle, right? And it all goes full circle into options and opportunity. If you guys don't have any options or any opportunity, then you need to be focused on making options and opportunity whilst making money.
Yeah.
Because people now, I genuinely don't think people understand how hard it's going to get in the next couple of years. For most people, it's going to get so difficult for just normal people, and for everyone else who's actually taking the time to actually start learning the skills to really move on and up in the world. Those are the people that are going to take everything, bro. It's like, you've probably seen it, right? Have you? Because right now it's the 20th of Christmas. Of December.
Christmas,
yeah, 20th of Christmas. It's been a long day. But have you done some Christmas shopping and all of that shit, or been around?
I hate the rush, generally, because I just hate the great unclean. So I tend to get it all done in November before everybody panics and does it in the last 3 days. But yeah, I was in town. It must have been about 3 days ago, and it's bonkers.
It's nuts, right? But have you seen? Because for me, last year and this year, it's been extremely evident, and I'm seeing it all across the board, that this year specifically, there is such a disparity between the rich and poor, like massive. I'm seeing, I'm having conversations with families who live here in Spain or in other countries as well. Mm-hmm. And so many of them are saying to me, like, look, bro, I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna pay this foreclosure notice. I'm gonna lose my house. I'm gonna get the divorce. But then at the same time, it's like, if you look on social media, everyone's getting fucking presents and shit, right? Everyone's getting stuff under the tree, and everyone's getting these super expensive gifts, and I'm like, this is worrying, because the reality of the actual world is not that, it's not even close to comparable with what you see online. Like the suffering versus the social media. Oh, got this, got that, got this fucking diamond ring, Tiffany this. It's like, how are most of these broke dudes paying for this shit?
Credit, mate. They're flexing and shooting themselves in the foot later.
I think it's going to get really bad, because, as we know, in a depression or a recession, jobs start just fucking diving off of a damn hill, right? And I think that a lot of guys right now, they're using a lot of leverage, debt, credit cards, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure that a lot of those guys don't have the skills to not only just find another job, but to replace that income that they're using just to spend on this chick as well. What would your advice be for those dudes to, I mean, obviously there's the real world, right? Everyone knows about that. But other than that, what would your advice be for those dudes? Because I think that's a lot.
Understand that your competition is going to get much higher. You know, if somebody like, okay, there's a job opening for, let's call it a project manager, and you're a junior project manager, so this is the next level up. You're going to now be competing with people who are above that looking for a job. You're going to be competing against the head of project management offices competing for that job. So understand that your competition is going to get higher and higher and harder. Your job search is going to get harder in the next 2 years. So you better be prepared to demonstrate with hard value rather than just, oh, I'm good at my job. Tell me what you're going to do for me if I'm in that position to be interviewing you. That'd be my advice, is understand that jobs are going to be scarce because people aren't going to leave. So most job opportunities are because people have moved on or whatever. So job opportunities are going to be lower. And when you have a job that is around that pays a half decent salary, because some companies will still pay, you're going to be competing with people who are far more experienced than you. That's probably about it.
Yeah, it's really good advice, because I don't think, especially for the younger guys, I don't think that they realize that sometimes you just have to shut up, humble yourself, and take a job, because there's a lot of like stigma around, you know, even just what's the phrase, entry level jobs, low wage jobs. I genuinely don't see anything wrong with that at all. But some of these kids now, they're like, well, you know, I'm looking at all of these guys, like I'm looking at you know, maybe us two, for example. These guys are you know, doing so well. I want to do that. It's like, yeah, hold on a second, bro. We didn't just all of a sudden magically just make shit tons of money. No, it was we had to graft through shit,
literal shit in some you know, some cases, but
yeah,
it's the level of entitlement, isn't it?
Yeah, and it definitely comes down to entitlement. Thank you. Refill.
Nice.
Comes down very much into not just entitlement, but I think it's also
inflated level of self-worth, perhaps.
Yeah, it's. I call it an undeserved ego.
Yeah, 100%. Like an example that you'll probably relate to is, or I can relate to. Let's say you're going to go for a salary. You're a graduate from uni, and you're going to go for a salary of 30K. That's it's above average in the UK, surprisingly.
What is the average in the UK now?
I think it's about 27.8.
Fuck man.
But look at it this way: you go and try and make 30 grand without knowing anything. Now, to you and me, that's fine. But do you remember the first time you ever made a grand, how happy you were? The first time you made 30 grand, the first time you made 10 grand, try and make 30 grand and tell me that, oh, this graduate job that's paying 27 is not worth it, because I'm basically teaching you how to do it while paying you. You are providing me value. Shut up and learn.
Yeah.
It's basically
that's a really, really interesting point. I've never considered it like that, but that is exactly what it is. Yeah. It's essentially low end jobs and entry level jobs, and even mid range. Let's say from 30 to maybe 50,000.
Yeah,
it's essentially the same thing. It's just the level up you get. So you come into the entry point, which is the lowest paid, and they're paying you to learn, right? It's like and essentially it's an investment. Is how I've always looked at it. They're investing on you in good faith that you're going to stick around and then get that next level, right? So going from let's use IT, because this is one I'm super familiar with. So going from first line desktop support to second line, then third line, then you've got the specialists and networking, security, and everything else, right? And essentially, they're paying you to learn, and then
you're a net negative at that point.
Yeah. And the next level up is, well, they're only paying you because now you don't need to be managed as much. Yeah. So they're paying you essentially a self-management fee, I guess, in some which way, right?
You can look at it that way, yeah.
And then after that, then you're pretty much looking at sort of management level or team, team lead, that kind of thing. And
it's at the level where you're actually providing value to the company.
Yeah.
You know, because you look at the grads. Generally, you can extrapolate this across level 1, 2, and 3 IT support, or just the first 18 months of your career.
Yeah.
Or at any job, most of the time anyway. The first 6 months, you're not generating value. You're a time sink, you're a resource sink, you're a cost sink. After that, you kind of know where you are. You've got your feet under you. Those 6 months, you're net neutral. You're not making money, but you're not losing money because nobody's going to supervise you, like you said. It's after that point where you start generating value, whether that's income, because I look at jobs as either you're making money or you're saving money. There's only two ways around it. There's no in between. And it's only after that point where you're actually becoming valuable to the company that you're worth that money. And that's what I'd say to whoever's like looking at or scoffing at an entry-level job. 30 grand is still 30 grand.
It's free money as well, essentially.
Well, look at this.
All that you need to do is turn up, right? Like I can remember those days, and I used to think my job was so fucking hard, and I was getting paid like what was it, like 60 grand?
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh man, this shit sucks. And now I'm like, what, bro?
Easy, right?
I almost want it back.
Well, so my challenge to people who are, like, I say this to a couple of my friends who think they're too good for a job. I'm like, if you're so good for that job, take it anyway and use the free time.
Yeah. Because
if you're so good, you're able to get that job done way before 5 o'clock. My last full-time gig, it was, can't even remember. It wasn't paying that much. It was about 70K, fine. But I didn't work more than 15 hours a week. Like literally, I was doing all of this on the side because it's steady income. It's a lower paid job than what I'm used to, but that's because I specifically chose it.
Yeah.
Because, I needed, in the UK credit, essentially. They need to know that if you're going to get a car lease, they need to have your employment. So I was like, okay, I'll take that employment and get it done so quickly. So my challenge to people who are like, oh, I'm too good for a grad role, take it and take another one on top of it if you're that good.
Yeah.
Then you got 60K.
Yeah. Now you're making 120 or like, well,
whatever.
That's not a grad
but you've got time, which, as we both know, time is money.
Yeah.
I charge, depending on who I'm talking to, obscene amounts of money per hour because they want to know what I know. Okay.
Yeah.
But time is money. Now, if I lost 40 hours of my week to a job that was paying me a half decent salary, I don't know how much money I'm losing.
Yeah.
So, time is what you want more than anything else.
Yeah, because it's also very much a broke person's mindset. It's because it's like, right, if you're looking at things as just time versus money, right? rich people, we always want more fucking time.
Yeah. Why do you think we buy cleaners and chefs? It's like, because I can't be asked. Why do I take takeout every day? Because I can't be asked. It's a waste of time.
Exactly. And it's like, firstly though, we need to get you a stay-at-home gal, bro, to cook you some good food. We need some good food.
Right now, she'll never see this, but I think she's coming over in an hour. She's training to be a professional masseuse, and I'm the only client. So happy days.
Nice. Well, let's see how today's interview goes, shall we?
Well, exactly. Exactly.
We'll see if she gets the role, bro. We'll see if she gets.
Well, I mean, I've seen the CV, so.
Well, all right. I mean, maybe she was on a work placement for a little while.
Well, I think somebody professionally wrote it for her one day. So.
All right. Wonder who was writing those lines, bro.
Well, they're not lies. They're just the way
lines, not lines.
Lines. I was like, that's another thing. Don't lie on your CV because people will find out.
Yeah, and it's super obvious as well.
Look, the reason people come to speak to me in all places when they come for me to write their CV is because it is so obvious to see when somebody's paid somebody to write a CV. It is the easiest thing in the world to see because I speak in a certain vernacular, so do you.
Yeah.
If you were to write how I wrote and you were to pretend to be me, they'd know. Yeah. And that's why when I work with people on CV stuff, it's not just, send me what you've got and I'll write you a CV. It's like, no, it's, people are like, why the hell are you charging so much money? I'm like, because I'm spending about 20 hours writing this CV. I'm spending with you, I'm interviewing you because I don't know if you just send me your CV, which frankly, if you're coming to me, it's probably because it's not working for you. Then the only information I've got is what you've thought is valuable. When in reality, the information that's in your brain that I think is valuable, you haven't told me. So I've got to pull that out of you.
Yeah.
I've got to spend, 2, 3, 4 hours on the phone to you like this, talking about your career, talking about your jobs, talking about your goals so that I can write in a way that you would speak. Mm-hmm. Because that's the unique selling point for me is I'll write it in such a way that it's as if you wrote it. Now there's another level to that. It's what's the saying? You give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. That's me writing a CV. But I can also teach you how to write a CV, which is teaching you how to fish. So you never have to call me back because you know what people like me are looking for and how to use and write emotively in a way that demonstrates the value you're going to bring me rather than just the value of you doing your job,
Yeah. And it's just what we were saying before. It's like, rather than you just showing someone how to just move the chess pieces, you're teaching them how to actually fucking play chess. Yeah,
100%. Understand the reasons. And it's, I hate this example, but the reason the US economy fucked up during COVID is because they were told what to do rather than understood. They didn't understand why they were doing it. And when you're in, Jesus, I'm becoming really nerdy when it comes to supply chain and logistics, but the more efficient your logistics program is, the less resilient it is to change. So like to take your example off the 24th move, I don't do what you're anticipating, you're fucked. Mm-hmm. So understand how interviews are run, understand the reason behind certain questions so that if I was to ask a question that you've never heard of, like, what's your spirit animal? You instantly know, rather than just know exactly what to say to me because you can think of a canned generic answer, sure. You understand the reason behind that question. What am I trying to get and understand from you? If you tell me, I personally think the best answer is a non-answer, really. It's I'm a wolf because I'm good in a pack and I'm good alone. Yep. You work for both. It's a shit question. Generally.
I mean, you could continue with it. It's like there's so many different analogies just with that one question that you can come up with. What they're looking for is they're just giving you fucking nonsense and seeing if you can create value from nonsense. Like I would, okay, so with the wolf one, you could say, but just what you've just said, and then continue and say, but look, a wolf needs a pack because the lone wolf dies alone. Bingo. So I'm looking to be and work with a company for a long period of time or for a prolonged period of time. And I'm really hoping that's you guys, and judging by what I've seen and read in your blog posts and on your LinkedIn page, etc., I think that you guys could be that. And then you hit them with a question.
Yeah. Why should I want to work with you?
Yeah.
You know, what is your team dynamic? These kinds of, ask those questions back. 100%. Yeah.
And you could make it's all about tying things in. It's like another one just off the top of my head. My spirit animal. Well, I'm a swan. Because I'm elegant, and I always want to fly with what do you call a flock? I always want to fly within the flock. I want to fly within the flock, and I just want to be a part of that formation.
So you understand,
birds of a feather flock together. Blah. Like
exactly.
It's easy.
But the key there is because you understand the purpose of the question.
Exactly.
If you don't understand the purpose and you just turn up saying, I don't know, I'm a koala bear, generic animal, then you might get lucky and answer correctly in a point of view that the interview is like, oh, that was a good answer, but you don't know. You don't understand what I'm trying to get with it. And it reminds me of another difficult question that I was asked. It was, they'd asked me what my weakness was, and I gave an answer, and they didn't say anything. Now, can you imagine how most people would react in that interview? And I was coaching a guy on this because he was telling me he had a question like that, and then they didn't say anything. They just sat there and watched him to see what he would do.
Yeah.
That's a tough one, isn't it? It's like, well, if you don't know what the purpose of staying silent is, you're going to think, oh, I fucked up that answer. And then you're going to volunteer more information as to why you're weaker.
Exactly.
Especially, it's like, hey, Michael, tell me about your biggest weakness. And you'd say, what's a good one? Oh, public speaking. You know why that's a good answer? It's because everybody is generally terrified of public speaking.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, that's relatable. You then say, I'm addressing it by, attending Toastmasters or doing, Now imagine I just sat there and said nothing. And I was good enough at this game that I'm just going to wait.
Yeah. It goes back to sales. Yeah. Because if I say to you, Isaac, and I turn around and I say, look, here's the fucking contract. Mm-hmm. Are you going to sign this right now? If we're doing this face to face, and you just sit there, complete silence, I'm going to sit there in silence as well.
Yeah, first person to crack loses.
Because whoever talks first loses. And I'll just fucking look at you.
Yeah.
I'll look at you and I'll nod like this.
Because if we were in that stalemate, I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, this guy, he knows the game.
Yeah.
I can work with it. It's a test.
It's fun.
It's a test. He's like, okay, yeah, fine. This works.
All right. This guy's cool. And it's exactly the same, right? And because the more that you talk, the worse it's going to be for you. Pretty much with anything, right? It's like you cheat on your girlfriend. She catches you.
Shut up and don't say anything. Let her fucking go nuts. You just go and take care of what you got to take care of.
Yeah, cool. All right. Got business. And rather than the guy who's we can extrapolate this even into society. Look at the whole cancel movement fucking culture, right? What do? Do they go for the people that just say, fuck you guys, no, I said what I said? Or do they go they go for the people that just say, you know what, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry I upset you because you're always going to upset someone, right? So rather than
there's a famous saying, isn't it? That's why there's a famous saying about if you don't have enemies, you've never stood for something.
Exactly.
So, yeah. That was something. But yeah. I mean, cancel culture is. It means so little to me. I'm like, fuck off.
I love it, dude. I love it because they end up just cancelling their own. So I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, but like, why? I mean, in my mind, I'm like, why would I waste my time looking at this shit?
Oh, good. If ever you have, which you won't, but if ever you have 5 minutes to look into, I always forget this person's name, but someone told me, I'll figure this out. I'll find it. I've got it on my phone somewhere. Sure. One of them. In fact, I might even have it on this one. Anyway, doesn't fucking matter. But there was a whole story. Someone was just like, look, you need to read this. I'm like, dude, I don't give a fuck. it's just this downward spiral because they apologized and because they said something. And it's the same with everything. If you're unapologetically you, which everyone should be,
mm-hmm.
you win. You win straight away.
The word I use is congruency. Be congruent to who you are.
Congruency. Hold on.
Applies, oh, yeah, it's fine. It applies to.
All right. Let me just see. Right, there we go. I think we're back. That was just
everything all right.
Yeah, that was just my phone. For some reason, it went off of do not disturb mode, and then it's just like 70 messages.
It happens. It's like, for God's sake. But what was I saying? It literally, it's just congruency. It goes back to what I was saying. You know, why do I spend so much time with clients? Is I need to understand who you are and the way you speak, so I can translate that into the written word. How do I, you know, when it comes to the coaching stuff with interview prep or salary negotiation, I need to understand, are you going to be the type of person to say those words?
Yeah.
If not, then I've got to tailor it for you or teach you how to tailor it yourself. So yeah, congruency is be unapologetically authentic.
Yeah. And even that, I think it surprises me and it saddens me sometimes, because I don't think that people realize that in my perspective anyway, that's like a God-given fucking right? Like, and for you to be the unique person that you are, with all of the crazy traits and everything else that you have as a human being, and for you not to be authentic and to be that person, you're stealing so much away from the world, right? You're stealing so much away from the world just to try and mask, like, and obviously there's always a time to mask and to act and be in a certain way. But you have to be you. You have to be you as much as possible, because if you're not, no one else is going to be, right?
Well, it's like the idea of, why would you compare yourself, or if you're planning out your life, so I know a lot of people are planning out the next year, why would you write goals to achieve that somebody else has achieved?
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I want to be like Mike. I'm not going to sit here. I don't have the same circumstances as you. I don't have any of that. So why would I try? I'm going to take what I can do and do the best that will make me the best version. And you know, we both understand how that works, and the fire it creates to, like, okay, I need to do this because the better version of me is already doing it.
Yeah.
Don't take away from the world by pretending to be somebody else or thinking that's what you need to be, because from a more morbid point of view, eventually that mask falls off.
Yeah.
You know, not to bring it back to completely back to women, but you know, a lot of guys will put up this front of the bad boy or whatever it is without being authentically a G.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually your authenticity is seen through, because you're just not authentic. That mask drops off, and the person you're with wanted to be with the G, and they're like, fuck, who's this guy?
Yeah.
And same thing with jobs. It's like, if you you come and bamboozle somebody in an interview and say, oh yeah, I'm amazing, I've done this and that and the others, eventually it's going to be found out.
I'm a leader. That's the best one for me. I'm a leader. Whenever I hear I'm a leader, I'm like, right, you're not fucking leader. And you can't follow. I'm like, at that point, I'm like, okay, interview's now done. The second, never, ever, ever say at all, ever once, are you a leader? Are you a leader?
There's a no-win scenario there, because you're talking to your boss who's leading you. It's like Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power. Why the fuck would you say that?
Yeah.
Don't be autistic.
That's a great book, actually. Very, very good 100%. Book. Highly recommend everyone read it.
I recommend another book, actually, because I'm reading it at the moment. I haven't finished it, but I don't know if you've seen that one.
Hold on, I'm blind as a bat. Surrounded by Idiots. Hold on, let me just take a screenshot of that, because that is my life in 3 words.
Right. It's a great book, and it tells you how to communicate with people who are completely opposite to you. and that's what we're all trying to do is sales, right? So it helps with sales and dealing with stuff. But yeah. Don't be autistic and don't say you're a leader, because it actually reminds me of a time where I got into an argument, and this is me fucking up because we all fucked up. The argument was, what's the difference between a manager and a leader? And the guy was like, well, I'm a leader and a manager. I'm like, no, you're not. You can't be both. What is it? Which one are you? He was like, well, fuck you. And I was like, okay, whoops. So don't be autistic. If you're trying to get a job of somebody, don't insult them.
Yeah, don't. And the other thing as well, and I see this now more and more and more and more and more. And every day I see it. I see this specific aspect of just pure, straight fucking stupidity, of just minus IQ.
Yeah.
Where people are trying to bite the hand that feeds them, right? You can't bite the hand that feeds you, because then it's not going to feed you anymore. Right. So when you're trying to negotiate, or you're going to your manager, your manager is above you, and always will be. You to enter that kind of a negotiation, you want to make it known that they are above you, and that you respect their opinion and their views on things and how they wanted to run things, and you want to give them all of the massive pluses that they've just implemented and changes and all of this shit, rather than just going in and saying, well, fuck you, I think I can do your job better than you, John. Or even worse, going to their fucking manager and then doing the same thing, because you will get fired in an instant.
Yeah, I might be in a bad mood. I'm like, all right, go ahead. Just don't do it here. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Managing your manager and that kind of tale of corporate life is probably the hardest part of it. Is I guess it just goes back to fucking, was it Dale Carnegie, how to win friends and influence people?
Brilliant.
Like, you need to understand that your boss is there. Whilst you're working in corporate land, you are his bitch, frankly speaking. He's somebody else's bitch, and the CEO of the company is the bitch to the investors. That's how it is.
Yep. And the shareholders.
Right, exactly. So either become a shareholder.
And the shareholders are bitches to their wives, and their wives are bitches to the feminist movement. So full circle. There you go. That's society in the corporate world explained.
I think it's actually why there's an actual phrase for that,
bitches to the feminist movement. We figured out the what.
It's so simple. There's actually, I think there is actually a saying about that. I think it's called the circle of screaming.
Oh, I've heard of that.
You must have heard that. So it's a similar thing. It's like, well,
yeah. Explain it for the guys watching.
I'm not going to do it justice because I can't remember it off the top of my head. But it's like, your boss's boss is in a bad mood because his missus has screamed at him, which means he screamed at your boss, which means he screamed at you, which means you screamed at your missus or whatever because you're that weak. You take it out on people, who then in turn goes to the country club and screams at or bitches about you. Who happens to be in the audience? Your boss's missus. Yeah. So she's like, I think it's something like that. But basically, it's just like everybody's fucked because everybody's in a bad mood. So escape that little circle, please.
Yeah. It all comes down to mindset, I think. Just really, because if you're genuinely living authentically, and because I'd say a good 90% of all people are good people and actually care about people. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, I care about people. Just went for a second. I care about people, but I will only care up until a particular point. Until I see that me caring about you is a detriment to myself, my beliefs, or anything else. Like, I then from then on, done. I'm out. Especially exactly. if you're showing me or I see you showing disrespect to other people, fuck you, man. Like it's done. And dealing with life through that kind of an approach, and even more so through gratitude. I'm not getting hippie here, but if you're grateful that you're able to work, let's say a 30K job.
I get to, not I have to.
Exactly. And it's if it's like I'm able to do this fucking thing, then it's like, you know what? There's always someone that's worse off than me. There's some fucking 8-year-old in, I don't know, where's there a war right now? Ukraine. There's some 8-year-old who's, why did that not click? It's really been a long day.
It has been, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long year, but still, I have many more to come. Famous last words, right?
Well, fingers crossed.
But there's some 8-year-old in Ukraine that's just lost their mum, their dad, and their grandparents. And here you are just sitting around on your ass getting paid by the fucking government because you feel like going to McDonald's is bad because Instagram has taught you that you need to be a millionaire. Like you should be getting rich, but it's a ladder, right? It's a laddered approach. You have to start fucking somewhere. So start, right?
It's easier to climb a ladder with lots of rungs than lots of rungs than a few big jumps, whatever the saying is, But yeah, it's the entitlement and the mindset. I mean, I really like it. I think it was you who taught me that. Or instead of saying I have to do this, it's like I get to do this.
Yeah, and it changes everything.
Yeah, it's mindset. And it reminds me of one of the guys that we know. I helped him with his CV because he wanted to transition from one industry to the next. Yeah. He was like, I don't have any sales experience. I'm looking at it. I'm like, dude, you run your own company for the last 15 years. How do you not have sales experience?
Yep. I know who you're referring to. Even I was just like, what's going on here? Do you not like you need to take
just turn around and look at the other side of the coin. Like, you obviously have sales experience because frankly, you're still alive. You have a house, a wife, you're making bank.
Yeah.
Obviously you have sales experience. And it was very much just spending 4 hours with him. And I'd quote him, and I'd probably message him if he sees this. He'll know who I'm talking about because I always get his name wrong. Because his handle, his email has got like the name Dan in it. I'm like, your name's not Dan. Why the fuck is it Dan?
Yeah.
But I think he got more value on just talking to me rather than me writing his CV. Because I could write a CV and say, oh, he's the best sales guy in the world. But if he didn't believe it, then it doesn't matter how good that CV is. And I think the 4 hours he had with me, or 6 hours, I think it was, changed his mindset, saying, yeah, well, actually, I am a sales guy. I can do that. I have done this. He has his own podcast now. He has a sales and marketing team. He does copywriting. He's moved from working in a skilled trade to that. I'm like, look, how did you think you didn't? It was just the mindset that was wrong. Yeah.
It's and there's always angles, right? And it goes back even to interview questions, sales, everything. There's always, well, I say there's always 99.9% of the time, there is an angle of attack that you can take. And it's just changing. So we have the camera here. If I turn the camera around and you guys look at the Christmas tree and the sofas, it's completely different. Mm-hmm. It's completely different. And maybe that approach would give you guys, the viewers, a completely different feel from the podcast. But I've chosen this angle because I want everyone to see that it's professional and that we are fucking professional.
Well, it's the same here.
Yeah. Trust me, neither of us have fucking trousers on right now. We're just...
Shut up, man. Come on.
Someone got to help the guys.
I mean, I'm wearing slippers. Does that count? Yeah.
I was going to wear slippers. My feet are actually fucking freezing right now.
But, yeah, I mean, it's perception, isn't it?
Yeah.
Perception is key. Mindset is key, and knowledge of understand. Just for career point of view, is understand what the person you're talking to wants. What's their what was it? Conditions of satisfaction.
Yeah.
What are they looking for? They've advertised for this job. Find out what their pain point is, and tell them and show them how you can fix it.
Yeah. And also another good question. One thing that I always used to, I loved asking this question because I'd always be able to tell way more about the company, which is, okay, so why are you guys hiring for this specific role?
Good question. Yeah.
And then they'd either say, oh, well, you know, we're just expanding and stuff. And I would have looked at the company's figures.
You look at the earnings calls.
Yeah. Suits. And if you've seen that they're earning less than what they were last year, you're expanding. Well, hold on a second.
Do that, you know?
And then you can pull them up on it. You can pull them off on it. Just be like, well, okay, no. Because now you've also just lied to me. I feel disingenuous, so probably not a good company to work with. Depends, obviously, on what they said. But then also, if they say, well, our last guy, we had him for like 15 fucking years. He was amazing, but he just got offered another role, or he just moved countries, or, you know, whatever. Then you know that that's actually a really, really, really good company that you guys want to work with. But, I mean, for me, I couldn't get back into that world. I've been so outside of it.
Yeah.
That for anyone to tell me what the fuck to do
drives you insane, doesn't it?
I probably
the only person that can tell you what to do is you.
Yeah. I'd probably have to hit them in the face with a train.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I get it. The reason everyone talks about find your passion, and I'm lucky enough that when I was in my industry, and, you know, I still dabble in that as a contractor because I don't want to work for somebody. I love that industry, you know, medical engineering, medical devices, all this pharma stuff. Yeah, I love that. The reason I do what I do now is because if I'm talking to a 22-year-old, I imagine me when I'm 22, I wish I'd spoken to me and understood what I should have done instead, or how can I jump the ladder essentially a little bit. Yeah. I'm not going to promise that 22 you can be VP of engineering, Jesus Christ, but you might be better off in that role or this role because I can understand your talents. That's what I do. Everything is just that passion.
Yep, 100%. And I think, when was it? Today, actually. No, sorry, yesterday. Yesterday I was speaking about this whole find your passion shit. And I was speaking about it, and I said,
passion should be money, frankly.
It's the dumbest thing on planet Earth, trying to find your passion. How many artists do you know in just your entire contacts of people? How many artists do you know that are actually making 200K? None. Oh yeah, but there's really famous one. Like, look at this guy on Instagram.
Who happens to be dead.
One dude. It's always the exception to the rule rather than the rule, right? And in having that kind of a mindset, you just end up completely fucking yourself up, because you need to learn. If you want to get rich, you need to learn how money works and how to make it. And making money 9 times out of 10 is fucking. It's long, it's tedious, it's boring, it can be very repetitive, but that's what it fucking takes.
Yeah. And you can only look to improve on that when you've mastered it.
Yeah.
You know, whatever the continuous improvement is become a master of it and then try to speed it up. Like, you know, for example, yourself, the first time you started doing things, you did it the long way, right? You had to suffer through everything to get to where you are, to now look at it and say, actually, I can change that and do that faster. You found the pain point, you fixed it. That's how it works.
Yeah, my first sales jobs, everything. I was just, it was so bad, dude. It was so bad. I would love to have those recordings. I would love to have those recordings.
Yeah,
but everyone always sees the end result, because the end result is always much louder than the start. Because initially, when you're starting something, normally you're going to be fucking trash at it, right?
Yeah.
And being trash at something, you don't want someone else or anyone else to know how trash you are, right? Because you're like, fuck this, man. I just want to hide away from this thing. So what now is happening is people just see that the end results. They see the end results, and then that's what they assume is just, it's always been that, but it's not. It's not. You have to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about starting somewhere, where can people follow or start following you on online?
Yeah, so I predominantly have Instagram as my social media. I don't have anything else at the moment. I'm still learning that. So that's the Callback Coach on Instagram. And you can also go to my website, and that's also thecallbackcoach.co.uk, where basically the entire premise is we get you the callback for that interview and train you how to get that job.
Yeah, super good marketing, by the way. I love it. I love it. When you first said it, I was, damn, that's a fucking good.
I remember when the first time I had a marketing role, I was so bad at it. Like, we were selling into hospitals, right? I mean, just as I know we're finishing up, but just because I'm kind of proud that I'm not an idiot when it comes to marketing anymore.
All right.
We had this technology that was, the acronym that I chose was RAT. Now you try and sell rats to hospitals.
Yeah.
It's like, I was like, I'm so bad at this, but we figured it out. So yeah, Callback Coach is just, what is the thing that everybody wants, is to get that phone call.
It's super. It's genius, actually. It's really, really. What I love about marketing and sales is the most genius things are normally the most simple.
Yeah, 100%. Why would you complicate it?
Yeah. And everyone's always like, yeah, but if the logo looks like this, just like, bro, no one gives a fuck about your
Nobody
logo.
cares. I mean, the only other one, the only second runner-up, and I'm glad I didn't take it because would have probably gotten sued for it, was the Briefcase Coach. Just because I'm like, well,
blue collar,
yeah,
or blue white collar, it makes sense.
But hey-ho.
Corporate world,
remote coach, the nomad coach.
It does make sense. It makes sense. But yeah, yours is definitely the best that you could have chosen.
Like,
definitely. Yeah. It's smooth.
It's smooth. I appreciate it, man.
The Callback Coach, because it's also not too long. It's just right in that nice zone.
It rolls off the tongue. It's like,
yeah,
smooth.
Yeah. It really does. No, that's nice, man. Well, look, brother, appreciate you getting on. And
thanks for the time,
as he said, you guys can just follow him. It's at the Callback Coach, as we've obviously explained. And make sure that you guys do follow him if you guys are looking for corporate roles or help just generally with your CV. If you guys are an exec looking for a better position, then definitely hit him up, because I can certainly vouch for him myself. Because I've seen so many a time over where he's genuinely helped people get much better positions. So, Isaac, appreciate you, brother. And we'll speak soon.
Always, Michael. Anytime. Take care. Thanks,
man. All right, bro.